got a visit from my nephew, a young fella, he's about 14 years old. So he's knocked on my door and given me a hug and then went inside to play with my kids. Following day, he texted me telling me that he got tested positive. And instantly, my throat started itching, which I don't know if it's psychological or if it was a real itch. So I ran down to the testing site and I got tested myself the following day. That same day, the result came back as positive. Now, that first day was just an itchy throat. The second day, I got the shivers, the hot and cold shivers, the sweats. The third day, I started being uncoordinated, very dizzy and uncoordinated. So at this stage here, I am trying to fight it off myself, thinking that it's just, your normal flu symptoms, but a little bit heavier than the actual common flu. The fourth day, after that, it hit my lungs. I couldn't breathe anymore. So my breath went down to a level where I was struggling even to get a little bit of breath in. And that's when my wife called the ambulance. The ambulance came, took me in, put me on oxygen straight away. So they took me straight to the Alfred. Lucky me, the Alfred had a free bed because in the Alfred they've got this machine which it's called the ECMO machine. Anyway, I got to the hospital and the doctors tried absolutely everything. They were injecting me with steroids, with antibiotics, rolling me over onto my stomach. They even at one stage hung me upside down with my legs, trying to get my lungs working. They tried absolutely everything and nothing was working. After that, the doctor came up to me, the main doctor. He came up to me and he said, "Look, Zain, we've tried everything and nothing's working. I've got one more option left." He said, "I have to put you to sleep and take control of your lungs artificially and put you on a life support machine." He said, "But in the meanwhile, I want you to say goodbye to your family because legally I'm obliged to tell you that I don't think you're going to make it. But we'll give it a crack anyway and we'll see how we go." And that's how the ordeal started. You see, the problem with corona and the symptoms of corona is they still don't know. They're still learning themselves. You see, at the moment I've still got, my lungs are scarred. Half of them are scarred and the other half are inflamed. Now, if I got that from smoking, they know how to treat it because they've got certain medication and exercises that will treat that. However, because I got it from corona, that medication and those exercises aren't working. So it's just a learning process for them too, which is making it hard because there's no COVID specialists yet. Well, in reality, I wasn't anti-vax. I wasn't pro-vax either. I also believed in free of choice. It's my body, I do what I please with it. So really I was sitting on the fence, waiting to see, results and proper research. This is pre-COVID. This is not pre-COVID, pre-me being infected. That was my stance back then. However, after being infected by COVID, and I respect the opinion of everyone's free to do what they like with their own body. However, I have become pro-vax. Why? Because here I am, I'm in hospital. I've got all these doctors and these nurses that are working on me. I'm infected and I'm infectious. So I can infect people too. They're actually carrying me, turning me over. We're literally nose to nose with each other. And they're immune from this sickness because they're vaxxed. The vaccine is not a preventative. It's not gonna stop you from getting infected. However, it will help your body fight it off much easier, and the symptoms that you will cop are much more mild. COVID hits different people differently. There are many people that passed away from COVID and they had much less symptoms than me. You see, in the ward that we were in, there was 14 of us. We all had the same sickness. We were all in there in the ICU. 14 of us, 12 died. There was only 2 that survived. Me and another brother, his name's Muhammad Koda. And subhanAllah, all of the 12 had less symptoms than me. And they all passed away. Not on the same day, gradually throughout the ICU. I'm in pain. To put more pain into me, I'm not willing to put up with that. I just want to get better. You know, I just want to improve. You see, I've been diagnosed now with something called long COVID. And the doctors are saying it will take approximately 2 years to recover. You see, when the doctor said to me that I'm not going to make it, it worked in 2 ways with me. First, it devastated me, absolutely killed me. So I think I was gonna die before I even got put in a coma because of the mental stress of knowing that that's it. But at the same time, it gave me willpower to fight. And I did say back to the doctor, I'm not gonna say goodbye to my family. I'm not gonna make them start grieving while there's still a atom's weight of hope. I held on to it and it gave me willpower, and I started fighting from day one. And I think with the help of Allah, that's why I'm still here. They weren't allowed to be in the hospital because of COVID restrictions. You got no support, you got no love. You need your family around you at times like this. And the hospital didn't allow them to even enter the front door, let alone being in the room. And during that time, my wife was infected too. She got infected either off me or off my nephew. She was in hospital herself. Thank God for my daughter who came and looked after the kids, and because I've got a 24-year-old, my daughter Ella. She looked after the kids in the house, at least for the first 3 or 4 days that my wife was in hospital.
When my dad was told that he was going to be put in a coma and on life support, he called me on FaceTime. And he was worried about me more than himself because I was positive as well. So just before they would put him in a coma, he actually FaceTimed me and said, "Are you okay? How are you feeling now?" And he couldn't even breathe properly, and he's trying to make sure I'm doing all right. And then he said to me, "Look, they're going to put me in a coma. It's only going to be 5 days maximum. I'll be up soon and I'll call you again. Just make sure you take care of yourself." And all these things, he did not make it sound like a big deal at all. He just said there's a few things they can't do while I'm awake. And so that was that. There was no goodbyes or anything because it didn't feel like a situation where we had to say goodbye.
I didn't want myself to, to go astray or to start questioning and say, why me? There's pedophiles out there that deserve this. Why do I have to cop this? I haven't upset anybody in my life. Why am I somebody that should, cop such a test? I didn't want that to happen. So I said to the doctor, if you're gonna do it, don't let me sleep tonight without you putting me in the coma. And he actually did. But from that time until I was put in a coma, it was a lot of panic. The beauty part of the coma, pre-coma, was this nurse walked in. Now, they've given me something to put me to sleep. Because I was panicking so much, I can't remember if it was a needle or if it was something orally. I just can't remember, or if it was a mouthpiece. Why I can't remember is because they injected me with so many things and they gave me so much medication. I just can't remember which one was the actual coma. But I remember as I was laying down, I was on my stomach and my head was on the pillow. One of the nurses walked in. It was a male. Now, I don't know if he was Muslim or not Muslim. I couldn't tell. And he said to me, "Zain, can I see your phone, please?" So I thought he wanted to call my family or something. So I've unlocked it and I've given it to him. He opened up YouTube. He put Surat Yasin, he pushed play, and he put it under my pillow. And that's what I went to sleep to. And it was about 5 minutes later where I dozed off. And it was just a fantastic thing. It was amazing. And like my eyes started tearing when I started hearing the Quran coming out from somebody. Look, if he was Muslim, may Allah reward him. If he was non-Muslim, may Allah guide him. It was just an amazing gesture. And that's what I went to sleep to. It made me relax. The panic went away, you know? It was 5 or 10 minutes later where I dozed off.
When my dad was considered the sickest patient that they had, I got a call from a Dr. Adrian. He was the principal investigator of the Redeem pilot study, which involved putting the patient on an ECMO machine and a few other little things. And as the medical treatment decision maker of my dad, I had to provide consent as to whether or not I was okay with him joining this study. And even though there was a lot of possible pros, there were also like side effects and cons as well. And nothing was promised. So it didn't mean that putting him onto this study meant that he was going to get better. It was still a probability. That was a very hard decision that I had to make because I didn't really understand much of it. So I had to have a few doctors explain it to me and had to read the study that they sent me through to my email.
The most horrific part of the ordeal was the coma. What I went through before the coma and what I went through after I woke up was very hard. Why? Because the thing is, in the coma, people think that you're peacefully sleeping, but you're not. I think it was for the first week or two, I was knocked out, I was asleep, but after that I woke up. I woke up, I was awake, I was aware, but I was drugged. Whatever they were injecting into me. So for a whole 2 months of the coma, there's a lot of fear. You feel like you're in the grave, you're suffocating, you're paralyzed, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nobody you can talk to. You can't say anything because you can't talk. You know what's happening around you, but you can't comprehend it 100%. You know, you're trying to scream out to people to save you from what you're in, but it's not working because nothing's coming out. Like I remember when the nurse started to shave my beard, shave it off because they couldn't fit the mouthpiece on properly because of the beard. And I remember as soon as she touched my beard with the razor, I actually remember it very clearly where I told her stop. And she said, we have to. And I said, no, work something else out, please stop. And then I dozed off again. But she shaved my beard. One of the nurses came up to me in my dream and said, Zain, they're playing with you. Just get up and leave. I actually saw that nurse after I woke up, believe it or not. The nurse that I saw in my dream. I saw her and I called her over and I said to her, you were telling me to get up and leave. Why? What conspiracy was going on? She looked at me, she smiled and she said, then why didn't you leave? I said, because I can't move. I'm paralyzed. You know, and then she laughed and walked off. Obviously, it was just in the coma process. I even saw a doctor, one of the female doctors. She came up to me and said, Zain, I'm here to help you. Don't worry about what's going on. I'll get you out of here. And I saw that doctor too when I woke up, you know? And every time she'd walk past my room, she'd look into my room and I think, she knows. She's looking at me. And then I noticed every time someone walks past my room, they look into the room. It's just natural, you know? It's an amazing story with my kidneys. My kidneys collapsed, so I wasn't passing urine anymore. I couldn't go to the toilet anymore. When I woke up, they were getting me prepared to do the dialysis, you know, and wash out my kidneys once a week. So they had already prepared that program for me. And then finally they let my wife visit. This is after I've woken up. She's come in and she had a little bit of Zamzam water. And at that time I had the ventilator in my neck. So I couldn't talk and I wasn't allowed to eat or drink because I was being fed through my nose. So she sneaked it in and she made me drink it. So I've grabbed it and she made me drink it over 3 times too. So I've drank it And as soon as I finished it, I've looked at her and I'm yelling out to her, but no voice is coming out because I can't talk. That I need the bottle, give me the bottle. And she's just, what's wrong? What do you need? And she's grabbing everything but the bottle. You know, do you want this? No, the bottle. Do you want this? No, no. Until I passed urine. And just before my wife walked in, she had spoken to the doctor about the dialysis. And then they told her, your kidneys are gone. So she ran back out, called the doctor in, and when the doctor saw what he saw, that I passed urine and everything went fine, he was shocked. Subhanallah, that little bit of Zamzam water, wallahi, and with the reliance of Allah, she really believed that this is going to work, it's going to help you, and it did, subhanallah. That's the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's just amazing. Subhanallah, when you rely on Allah sincerely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill what you're relying on Him for. But you've got to have that reliance. And I learned that throughout this ordeal. Now my kidneys are back to normal. Fully functioning, back to normal. Because of that.
يا حبيبي كيفك يا حبيبي كيفك يا قلبي بسم الله عليك الحمد لله يا ربي ليش الحمد لله يا ربي الحمد لله كيفك يا روحي وينو علي وينو علي عيطي لعلي يا قلبي يا روحي يا عيني وينو علي عيطي له لعلي روحي جيبي علي بسم الله عليك ايه
ما تبكي
لا ما عم ببكي
ما تبكي
مبسوطة كتير أنا مبسوطة كتير.
After 2.5 months in a coma, I came to the state where I couldn't handle it anymore. This horrible state that I was in, you know, I turned up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I raised my hands. This is during my dream. I raised my hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I said, Ya Allah, I know I'm not dead because I haven't seen Malak al-Maut yet. And I know I'm not in the grave, even though it feels like it, because I haven't seen Munkar and Nakir yet. So I know I'm still alive. I said, oh Allah, either take me and get me out of this situation or return me back to my family. And then I closed my eyes and I started making shahada, remembering what the doctor was saying. And I made about 100 shahadas, just shahada after shahada. And then after that, I opened my eyes and I was awake. That's the moment I woke up. And that's the moment I looked up and there was doctors and nurses and they started jumping up and they were celebrating because I woke up. And that's the moment they switched off the life support machine. And that's the moment I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, you've done well, but it was Allah that saved me. So you can enjoy, you can celebrate as much as you want, but this is I'm telling myself because I still can't talk, but it was Allah that saved me. And it was at that moment I broke down straight away. I broke down just out of thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
يا رب أنت الحافظ يا الله فضلنا أولادنا من كل شر وسوء يا رب.
The Alfred and the Cabrinis. So what I would love to say to the doctors is I'm very grateful because they did not give up on me. From day one until the time I got out of hospital, they did not give up on me at all. So I'm very grateful and I really, really appreciate everything the doctors and the nurses did. The nurses were fantastic, especially in the ICU. Fantastic. They went above and beyond also. So I'm very, very grateful. And I will be sending you flowers and some sweets, Lebanese sweets. Turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you're Muslim or not. Whether if you're a Muslim, turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is closer to you than a string of thread. So turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're not Muslim, please consider Islam. Look into it without prejudice and without hatred. Be open-minded. Look into Islam because you might find peace there. And that's it.
I miss you, God. الله أكبر. حبيب قلبي زينب.
فايق
يا رجال الله أكبر. تكبير تكبير تكبير.
خذوا لأبوه خذوا لأبوه. خذوا لأبوه.